Again, yeah, it is. That's the phone, man. Here, you'll see that little pin. You can drive that. Oh, and by the way, you don't want to dry fire these things. Just a little bit to the side of the shooter. 1, 2, 3. All in 25, 25 and a half, 26 grain. Hey folks, Manny CA here. Thought we'd go through and discuss, talk about, do a little shooting, a little showing of the Ruger new model Blackhawk. You guys have seen this piece before. One of our favorite single action revolvers. And when we say single action, for the novices out there, if this is your first time and you just stumbled upon our channel, single action is gun won't fire unless you cock it. So you got to cock the gun, pull the trigger. Single action. As opposed to double action, where you can pull the trigger and the hammer comes back and shoots each time. So, I tend to forget sometimes that not everybody is as well versed as we are, the gun culture, when it comes to our firearms. So we have to go through and just do a really quick review. Kind of just go through the basics, so everybody's on the same page. Back in the 40s and the 50s in this country, in America, there was a resurgence of cowboy movies. Gene Autry, Gary Cooper, John Wayne, you gotta have the Duke, you gotta love the Duke. Roy Rogers, they glorified the West, the Western frontier, running out with the 6 guns. Man, even when I was growing up back in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, you'd see the reruns on TV, and it was like you just had to stop and watch them. Especially the John Wayne. Oh man, John Wayne, awesome. Glenn Ford. Oh, Glenn Ford. Oh, and man, just fun to watch. Just great. Good old Americana, basically what it was. Well, that just drew a drive for the single-action army. But unfortunately, Colt had quit making them before World War II. So that left a big niche in the market. And that's where we get, who, good old Bill Ruger. Yeah, Bill Ruger stepped in and filled the shoes that Colt was unable to provide. And what he did was he came out, I think it was, what was this? In 53, he came out with a single, kind of looked like a single action Army Colt, but it wasn't. In 53, came out with the single 6, right? 22 caliber. And it became such a bestseller that just 2 years later, they marketed a centerfire version in 357 mag. All right? In 1955, they came out with the 357 mag. Of course, we all know in 56, Smith & Wesson introduced the 44 mag Model 29. Clint Eastwood fame, Dirty Harry fame. Yeah, the 8 3/8 inch barrel on that gun. Well, need we say more? And that was in 56. Now, there's a legend that goes back, that circulates among the gun guys, that I guess Ruger, there was a Ruger employee, and he was digging around in Smith & Wesson's dump, and they found a 44 mag, spent 44 mag case, and, well, you know, that was, as they say, that's all they wrote. History came about from that. Whether the legend was true or not, who knows? We don't know. But they introduced these beautiful, iconic guns to fill the niche of all the cowboy shooters who wanted to start shooting. Because of the movies. Because, you know, Americans are a nation of doers. They like to do what they see. Right? Think about it. They like to do what they see. Why do you think NASCAR is so popular? Right? And Formula One isn't. Well, NASCAR looks like the average sedan you can buy in the store, right? Only it's not, you know, plus, who knows, $100,000 worth of engine under the hood. But, nevertheless, Hemis are so popular, you know, it's just they mirror NASCAR. So Americans like that. They see it, they want to do it, they emulate it, because that's the way our country is. So with Ruger introducing some of these guns back in the 50s, it was like, you know, manna from heaven. A lot of the shooters, a lot of guys I know grew up shooting the old action, the old model single sixes, the old model, you know, centerfire revolvers. Can't beat them. Fun to shoot. And, you know, I talk about guys talking about carrying these things. Now, this guy, this is a 6.5 inch barrel. That's just too unwieldy to carry with you. But you know what? Maybe something like this. You guys know this guy, right? Yeah, we've shot this one before on the channel. If not, dig through the channel and take a look. This is a 5.5 inch barrel. Or the 4 5/8 inch version of this. Even better. Right? Perfect pack and pistol, as they call them. They're not the lightest things in the world, but you know what? They stay on target when you shoot. Bill Ruger, for those of you who are unfamiliar with a little bit of the history behind his company, he perfected what's known as investment casting. And what that is they make a mold of the frame, right here, and they pour basically hot metal into the mold, and there you go. There was no CNC back then. And he got the idea from the Italians, and he just perfected it. He perfected what's known as today's investment casting. Today it's kind of seen as pop metal. They look at it like, oh, we look down on it. But back then it was revolutionary, you know, to get something like this made where it was strong. And we say it's strong because just take a look at how thick the top strap is on this gun, right? Look at that. It is a beast. It's a tank. But then again, they do go double charge. Got to be careful. But look at that. Very strong.
This is a 9mm cartridge. And we're trying to do it at 50 yards.
From 1955 to 1962, they released what were known as the flat top models. Flat top, you guys hear about this all the time. Flat top, non-flat top. Now the flat top models, like we're going to see here. Now this is a reproduction, not a reproduction. This is a new production gun, and this is a Lipsy Special that was released a couple years ago. And you can see here, there's no ears protecting the rear sights. Okay, that's what's known as a flat top model. All right. Whereas over here, you've got ears, quote unquote, which come up to protect the sight. What do you prefer? What's your preference? Just depends on what you shoot. It's a Ruger. A Ruger's a Ruger. All you got to do is look at the top strap over here. They're the same. All right. You're not gonna go wrong by picking a gun. So from 55 to 62, approximately 62, they were known as flat top models with no ears protecting the rear sights. Okay, and then from 62 to 72, they introduced a lot of other calibers. 44 Colt, 44 Special. They were really popular compared to the Colts because number one, they were kind of like an everyman gun, and everybody could own these guns without having to shell out 2 or 3 paychecks just to get one. Whereas Colt will use fixed sights on them, and you guys know, you've seen those before in our other videos. Colt had a fixed rear trough sight with the fixed front sight, and Ruger changed all that by making the rear sight adjustable. So now you can shoot any kind of load you want through your gun without having to worry about filing down this or deepening the trough back here. So a lot of different advances came through that Bill Ruger initiated. Colt also used a leaf spring back here. You guys seen our video, the leaf spring to power the hammer. Alright? Well, Ruger went to a coil spring. Coil spring's stronger, lasts longer, right? Made them more durable. And that was another reason for such a great acceptance of this gun and the popularity of the gun. Because here you've got a gun, probably cost 1/3 of what Colts used to cost, but would last maybe just as long, if not longer. Right? Another big thing everybody talks about is 3-screw versus 2-screw. Now, there's no myth to it. There's nothing scary about it. But if you look at this one, here's an old 3-screw. And you can see why they call it a 3-screw. It's because, well, look at that. You've got 3 screws on the action. And they're actual screws, not pins, like you find on today's models. See that? They're actual screws. And this is for the hammer, this is for the trigger, and this was for the bolt, I believe. Yeah. Just look back at some of our other videos, you'll see what I'm talking about. 3-screw versus 2-screw. Yeah, see? Here they got just one for the hammer, and the trigger. So those are the two differences. How do they shoot? Some guys say that the 3-screw shoots smoother. Some guys say that the 2-screw shoots smoother. I just think it's how much you shoot the gun. Shoot the gun more, parts made up better, you get smoothness. You get an accuracy like glass. Will it come close to like a Colt Python or a Colt Anaconda? No. But you know what? For the price, you're getting a reliable, dependable gun, which you're not going to find anywhere else for the price. Well, I'm saying the last 20 years. The prices have come up exponentially, ridiculously, I want to say. Another thing you really want to think about when you get these guns is the older guns have what's called no safety. Oh, this is where we're going to get scared, guys. So all you you guys that are scared of your own shadow, don't watch. But look in the rear. You see the firing pins exposed right there? There we go. There's the firing pin, right? Nothing behind it. And we'll take new model. Look at there. You see that right there? That's the transfer bar. This was put there in 1973. This conversion system was initiated after they had some accidents where people were shooting themselves because the gun was going off. Because remember, the safety is in your brain. Okay? So what happens, here, let me get it one more time so you can see the difference. Let's get both of these so you can get up close and personal. See, transfer bar on this side, no transfer bar here. Hoping the light will pick that up. There we go. See that? This is how the Colts used to be. This was a Ruger invention in this gun. In this gun, I say. Because, contrary to popular belief, what a lot of people think, Bill Ruger did not invent this. I know they're in his guns, but he did not invent this. A guy by the name of Oscar Mossberg invented it while working for Iver Johnson in 1885. Ooh, those names sound familiar. Oscar Mossberg of Mossberg shotgun fame. There you go. He was working for Iver Johnson. Look, wow, Iver Johnson 22s? You guys heard of Iver Johnson, right? Of course you have. So he took the idea and ran with it. And I tell you, he did a really good job. What had happened was there were people, well, we'll say this was the pre-safety era. And what they would do, and what you're supposed to do when you load one of these guns is you open that up, right? Now I'll give you another tip. These older models do not cylinders locked into place when the gates open. You have to put it to the second click. That's the safety notch. Now it spins. How safe is that safety notch? Not very. If you were to drop this and the gun would fall, you'd probably break the notch, the hammer would come down, hit the firing pin, and your gun will go off. So, what guys used to do would be they would load one, skip one, and load 1, 2, 3, 4. Load all 4, close your gate, cock your hammer, and they would seat the hammer down on the empty round. Now the gun is traveling safely. You have 5 rounds in the gun. You don't have a round under the hammer where the hammer can be pushed like this and push the firing pin against the primer, detonating the round. Alright, so what they did was they put this little doodad here, this little doohickey, whatever you want to call it, the transfer safety bar. And you can tell the difference on the hammers. Look on the hammer face right in here. You see the difference? Let's see if we get that. There we go. See how on this one right here, there's a cutout? And over here there is no cutout? Ah, now you guys are knowing what to look for when you go out for your guns, right? Well, what happens is, see that? The hammer block comes up like this. When the gun comes down, hammer comes down, the hammer comes down on the hammer block, and the hammer block comes down between the firing pin and the hammer. And that's what detonates the round. See? And this is the cutout right here. This is the relief shelf. So if you somehow slip and this is not in between firing pin and hammer, what happens is the hammer gets struck by this indention right in here. Gun doesn't go off. That's the safety. Ingenious? Yes. Very ingenious. Invented by Bill Ruger? No. That's just history. So, something to think about. Beautiful, beautiful gun, guys. Get a close-up of her. That's alright. She's not shy. She loves the spotlight. This is the convertible model. 357. Ruger. New model Blackhawk. And we could tell it's not the flat top model. It's got the ears. You see that? That's what these ears are. Otherwise, it would be a flat top. You guys seen in some of our other previous videos shooting the flat tops. The new release flat tops. Yeah, these guns, tried and true single action. And again, single action means that when you cock the hammer, won't pull the trigger. You can't pull the trigger and shoot the gun. Gun won't fire. You gotta cock it. But Manny, you say, how is it you could shoot a 9mm out of a 357? Easy. The 9mm, I'll put my Mr. Magoo voice on. The 9mm and 357, let's grab a 357 here, have the same diameter bullet, almost. The big misconception is a A lot of guys say that these are a waste, and I'll tell you why, because they're not hand loaders. So, join me if you will on another little adventure on how guns work. So, the bore on this has got to be set for 357, which would be 0.357 inches in diameter. Anywhere from 356 to 357, the bore. 9mm are traditionally 0.355 diameter, smaller. So yeah, you could shoot 9mm through this gun, but guess what? You're going to get horrible accuracy. It's horrible. Think about it. Shoot the bullet enters the chamber, the bullet's bouncing around, it's not gripping the rifling, and then it comes out. That's horrible rifling. Horrible for accuracy. Detrimental to accuracy. You need to have variables which are set, especially when you're shooting. One of those variables, the bore has to be sized correctly for your bullet. You guys have seen that. Go back in the playlist, check out what we've got. We've got tons of videos. Not literally tons. We got dozens of videos on paper patching and sizing your bullet for your bore. So, that's what we did here. Now, this is for the hand loaders and all of you. Or if you guys aren't hand loaders, what I like to do is I cast 110 grain little button bullet. Pretty, right? And this is from a Lyman mold, Lyman 358345. I'll say that one more time. Lyman number 358345. I don't know if they still make it. It's an old mold. Okay? So we cast these little button bullets, 125 grain, 115 grain, I think. Somewhere around there. And what happens is, then we size them. Now, with this gun, you've got to experiment. I've sized these to 357. And you can see they have a shiny ring around there. These were sized 357 because that's as big as I could get them to fit in the cylinder. Yeah. See? No, that's it. So, 357, and they'll fit. I try to go 358. I try to go 357 and a half, and it will not work. So, 357, and you got yourself a gun that works. And you'll get very good accuracy because now, you see that? The bullet's not being swallowed by the bore. Very good. That's what you want. Because those driving bands are the ones that engrave on the bore itself. See? The more driving band engagement you have that can get swaged down the bore, the better. The more accuracy you're going to get. Again, the bullet stabilizes as you shoot because you get the rifling parts, centrifugal forces come into play. They had a toy, an idea. They used to have a toy. When you were little, you'd push it down, and there was like a rotator on it. Well, you push it down really fast, and then it would spin on its own, gyroscopically, right? Now, I'm not an astronomer or any kind of astrophysicist or anything, but this is easy to think about. Now, the force of that spinning keeps it in a straight line. So you take it, you pick it up, and you try to move it, what happens? You can feel the force. It wants to direct it back straight up. Same concept when you shoot your gun. Now, if the bullet is in there bouncing around in the bore, guess what? You're not getting that centrifugal force built up. Bullet's not going to stabilize, goes out, it goes everywhere. Not everywhere, but you know what I mean. You'll get shotgun patterns like this instead of groups. Now, if you guys decide to take this endeavor on, which you got to have a lot of time, and you got to be really dedicated to the sport, what I would do is, as you're loading, have your cylinder out. This is a 9mm cylinder. Now, these were 357 size Lyman. You see that? That's the Lyman mold right there, and this is the powder charge. We got 3.2 grains of Rex, which is comparable. They don't sell Rex anymore. It was a great container powder that came out of Bulgaria, I think, or Serbia, or one of those Eastern Bloc countries. It was a shotgun powder similar to Green Dot. In the testing I did, it was like Green Dot, but not quite. So you guys got to take your own reloading to the next level and figure out how you get it, go out and practice. The only way you're going to learn is to go out and practice. So, but what I did is 3.2 grains of Rex. Gave me great velocity, about 900 feet per second. And here's the reject pile. So these are our rejects, all fully loaded. But when I sized them to 357, I try to go 357 and a half. And you see how they don't quite seat all the way in there because the bullet is too big for the chamber. All you have is that little, just that little gouge right there, and the cylinder will not close on the back of the cylinder shield. And the cylinder shield is this portion of the gun right here. Will not go back there, will not turn. So now you can see, compared to one that fits properly, you see how that sits flush? Let's get that on the video. There you go. I hope it comes out pretty well. Look, okay? So, no go, go. It's important to have your cylinder with you when you're at the loading bench, so you know exactly what works and what won't work. Now, we know these, we're going to break these down. Break these down, recycle the powder, recycle the cases, recycle the rounds, because we'll just melt those down again. And you can see we've got some beautiful shells. I only got 2 boxes of these that I made up, just because they're so time conscious, time sensitive to make, time consuming, unbelievable. You see how they all sit flush. I would advise that before you go to the range, you guys chamber check your rounds just to make sure that they sit flush and they work, in case you want to do that. In case you're so apt. Oh, was that a good one or a bad one? Oh, that's a bad one, see? Let's move him over to the side. In fact, let's put them back in the bag they came from. That way, we're not cursing and yelling, trying to figure out why they don't work. So, let's get this puppy set up and do some shooting. What do you guys think? Oh, and another trick you can do, you see how your stop pin doesn't come out all the way? You can remove this. First, you got to remove your ejection tube housing here, and you can remove this, and then what you would do is grind off on the end of your pin, or you can buy a replacement pin that fits in there, so you can pop that right off, so it's easier to clean and maintain. I haven't done it yet. I'm just lazy. Too many projects, not enough time. Priority. Let's introduce another gun into the fray. Oh, look at this guy. Yeah, this is the old Army black powder. Very nice. Look at that. And again, beefy top strap. Look at that. Now, there are some rumors that some guys even shoot smokeless powder through here. I wouldn't advise it. But we're all adults here, so you can do whatever you want. But guys said that they've shot smokeless powder through here using 3 or 4 grains of like Unique or something like that. I wouldn't do it though. But like I said, we're all adults, so I wouldn't advise it. But then again, it's your gun. These things were overbuilt. Very, very cool. And I'm going to show you what they have is, I cock it all the way. Look at that. This is the original safety. You see these notches right here? That's where all the single actions used to have a long, long time ago. And what you would do is cock your gun, right? And you'd put the hammer down on your safety notch. That way there is no way the hammer is riding on a primer. And you can load all 6 in here. Pretty neat. I'm telling you, those old timers, they were thinking. Now the reason we were doing this video is, of course, the conversion. You guys saw that. We were shooting a 9 and a 357 through here. Ruger came out with just, you know, when they started with the conversions, they couldn't quit. So the first conversion to come out were the 9, 357-9, which is this one right here. Okay. And we're going to roll in some of that footage of us shooting, and we'll go through a discussion as to why we're not really big fans of this gun. It shoots okay with the 9mm, but with the 357, it's dead to nuts accurate. So I wouldn't really worry about it. But they also came out with a think it was 44, well, this is another convertible, right? It's got a 45 ACP and a 45 Colt cylinder on that one. This one we got the 9mm 357 cylinder. So a bunch of different stuff. They've got a 10mm, 40mm, 40 caliber, 10mm cylinder on there. So you've got tons of options to choose from for whatever kind of shooting you're doing. And these guns are really popular when it comes to the cowboy action crowd. I mean, like, really, really popular. You'll see them mostly shooting vaqueros, and that's just another topic altogether. Or I've seen a lot of guys shooting black powder out of the Ruger Army, Old Army, and this is another video altogether. We're going to have to go over that. Alright, now comes my personal favorite time, is doing the data, getting the stats on them. First off, let's weigh some of these guys. I mean, you're talking lots of gun here. What we got on there? £2, 11 ounces. Right? That's for the 6.5-inch barrel. 5.5-inch barrel. 2 pounds, 9 ounces. And let's go get the older one here, this guy. 2 pounds, 11 ounces. Not bad. So just a comparison for you guys, something to keep in mind. Width, they're all going to be about the same. Width-wise, we're looking at widest part of the cylinder. Looking at 1.73 on the Blackhawk. 1.73. 1.67, so it's a little bit thinner. This is the Lipsy's re-released flat top. So flat top's a little thinner in case you guys want to do some kind of pack and conceal carrying, self-defense. 1.67. Interesting. These two frame types are the same. So just something data for you guys to keep in mind when it comes time down and shooting these guys and seeing what they can do. Over the years, the convertible models seem to have gotten a little bit more popular, I think. I don't think they were that great in the beginning, but as time has gone by, I think people have seen, well, you know what, if we can shoot 40 out of a 10 and 10 out of a 40, why not make a revolver? Give you a little more versatility. I know the new model Blackhawks, I think they made them in the 30 carbine, you know, 357, 44 Special, 45 Colt, 357 Federal, I want to say. Yeah, so, you know, you've got multiple calibers to choose from. The convertible ones, I know that they've got them in the 45 ACP 45 Colt, which is what we have here. The 357 by 9mm, which we got here. Well, this one's just a, this is a 44 Special, actually, by the way. 44 Special on a 357 frame. Very interesting. That is a whole nother story in and of itself, which we're going to save for a later video, because there's just too much info to go through. They've got the 40 Smith & Wesson and the 10mm auto, which I've shot, and excuse me, it is really neat. I tend to shoot more 10mm out of it, just because I like the power of the 10mm. But again, excuse me, the accuracy on these caliber conversions, like on this one, the 357 is a lot more, really a lot more accurate than the 9. And again, it's like we described before, all has to do with the bullet jump. The free range in here, from the edge of the case into the throat, and when it hits the forcing cone right in here, and how it enters that forcing cone. Any type of skewment, I don't know if that's a word, but any type of, being skewed, and this is an exaggeration, if the bullet hits it this way, that bullet enters the rifling and now is not centered correctly, and it just tends to wobble as it comes out of the bore. Not to mention that sometimes you're looking at a 357 bore and you're shooting a 355 bullet. We tend to find in our convertible that slightly oversized lead bullets for your 9mm will shoot a lot better than jacketed 9mm. Now, when it comes to the 45 ACP 45 Colt, they're, 0.452 diameter, and the only thing you're worrying about is from the 45 ACP is the jump. Again, the jump. This jump from the end of the case to here. That's what you're worrying about. That is where your degradation and accuracy comes to play. Because what happens is, again, there's so many different variables that come into play when you shoot between here and here. And I know it doesn't seem like all that much, but again, you gotta have the same, same conditions for everything, which is why when you load your brass for rifle, you neck size them the same way. You index them on your case the same way. You've got to make sure that there's consistency, because without consistency, you don't have accuracy. So that's one of the things about the convertibles that I'm really just a little leery on. I think they're fun to put them in the 357 mode. And this also happens like when you're shooting through 38s out of 357. Same thing. You've got that little bit of gap that you have to bridge when you shoot. And what happens? The variables go out the window. It's just a fact of these guns. The 45 ACP 45 Colt, same thing. Same thing. The 45 Colt seems to shoot better for me out of here, just like the 357 shoots better for me out of here than the 38 or even a 9. But if you're going to go this way, definitely want to cast your own. You definitely want to get a sizer. It's a little more time, a little more effort, but if you want to do it, you can do it and make it happen. Go out there, do some shooting, have some fun. You guys have any questions, comments, concerns? Send them on down below. Till next time.